What's up guys, in today's video we'll be going over a step-by-step guide for two beginner-friendly mods using the NK65 Entry Edition board, the Band-Aid Stabilizer mod and the Tape mod. I picked these two mods specifically because it's a cheap and easy way to improve the overall sound quality of your board and reduce the rattle in your stabilizers. For the supplies, you will need a roll of blue painter's tape, a package of fabric band-aids, and some switch lube. This is Krytox 205, but you can use any that you prefer or that fit your budget. For the tools, you will need a screwdriver with variable bits. I recommend the IFIX IT Kit. This is the $35 version that I picked up at my local Best Buy, and a switch opener if you plan on lubing your switches. They usually come in small kits with other useful tools like switch pullers and paintbrushes. I will link a couple in the description down below. But with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into it. So to start things off, let's remove the old keycaps and switches. These keycaps are from drop.com. They are single shot PBT. They were originally $50 when I purchased them, but are currently on sale for $39 at the time of making this video. These switches are the Everglide Aqua Kings with an actuation force of 62 grams. They are also available in 55 grams and 67 grams. And while being on the more pricey side for switches at $55 for the 70 count, they do come heavily factory lubed and provide a decent sound right out of the box. For more information on these keycaps and switches, I will leave a link in the description down below. The first mod we will be doing is the Band-Aid Stabilizer mod. First step is to separate the top and bottom frame. To do this, you will need a T6 or 1.7mm Torx bit to remove the 6 screws on the top frame. And if you don't know or have never seen a Torx screw before, they basically just look like little starmies. With the 6 screws removed and the board sitting on a flat surface, the top of the frame should easily pull away from the bottom frame. So now we need to separate the PCB and switch plate from the top frame. On the bottom side of the switch plate, you will find 12 additional T6 Torx screws that need to be removed. You can then slide off the PCB and switch plate from the top frame. Next, we must separate the PCB from the switch plate. To do this, you will need a PH1 or 1.3mm Phillips bit for the 2 Phillips head screws on the back of the PCB. With the 2 Phillips head screws removed, we can now separate the PCB and switch plate. And depending on your board's make and model, there could be a foam or silicone dampening layer. In my case, it's silicone, so I'm going to remove that and set it to the side for now. So now let's turn our attention to the bottom of the stabilizers where the actual housings will be making contact with the PCB. I'm taking my Krytox 205 grease, which you can pick up on Amazon for $15 for the 2ml size, and lubing the inside of the stabilizer housing and wire. This step is just to add some additional lubrication to the bottom of the stabilizer since mine looked a little dry. I'm also putting a little Krytox to the top of the housing to make the next step easier. Now for the actual Band-Aid mod. Take a regular size fabric Band-Aid and cut out a rectangular section that is slightly larger than your stabilizer housing. We're going to be taking this cutout and placing it where the stabilizer sits on the PCB. And the reason I lubed the top of the housings earlier is because you can put the PCB and switch plate back together before attempting this step, and when you separate them, it will leave a nice outline of where the stabilizers sit on the PCB, allowing you to perfectly place your Band-Aid without having to guess. Just make sure and wipe away the lube before placing the Band-Aid, otherwise it won't stick. And that's it for the Band-Aid mod, pretty straightforward and simple. Now let's reassemble the PCB, switch plate, and dampening layer, if you have one. Laying the switch plate face down, place your dampening layer on top in the correct orientation. Next, the PCB on top of that, and reattach the 2 Phillips head screws. Now for the tape mod, probably one of the easiest keyboard mods you can do. You can pick up this roll of blue painter's tape at any local hardware store for around $3 to $4. Simply cut a strand of tape that is the length of your PCB, and starting at the top, place the tape straight down, right under the USB-C port, getting out any of the air bubbles along the way. For my 65% board, it only took 2 strands of tape to get full coverage, and depending on your board, that may vary. Now that the board is fully covered, cut away any excess tape that is extending past the PCB. Additionally, I would take a small screw bit and poke a hole through the tape where the 6 screws will go for the top frame. Now we can reattach the PCB and switch plate to the top frame using the 12 Torx screws we removed earlier. And at this point in the build process, this is where I normally lube my switches, and while I don't technically count this as a mod, it will improve the overall sound quality of your board quite dramatically. The 3 main parts we'll be lubing is the stem, spring, and lower housing, and this is just a quick tutorial on that process. Since there are a lot of in-depth videos solely focused on lubing switches, I recommend checking those out before doing this step. But with all of our switches lubed, it roughly took me an hour and a half for all 68 switches. We can reattach the top and bottom frame and insert our switches back into the board. With our board fully assembled, and a little help of editing magic, we can put on our new keycaps. And I absolutely love these keycaps. They are double shot PBT and have a great matte feel. The inspiration for the color scheme is from one of my favorite anime characters. I'll let you guess which one. I bought these keycaps from a seller on Etsy who hand makes these. They were on sale for $75 and I received them in 2 weeks with shipping to the US. I will leave a link to their page down below. Overall, both mods took me 30 minutes to complete. If you factor in the time spent lubing switches and putting on the new keycaps, in total I roughly spent 2.5 hours from start to finish. So a nice weekend project you can do if you don't have time during the week. Stick around for the final sound test, and thanks for watching.